Welcome, Web3 Media friends, for a bit of a nerd out. Don't adjust that dial. That is my hair. Even in low res, probably on Twitter, it just loses its mind. Those of us who crazy hair know that wintertime, when you turn on the heaters, the crazy hair tends to get just extra crazy. Oh boy, let's try this. So we're trying some new formats out. Thanks for your patience as we look to expand. We're expanding next year with Rug Radio, with as executive producers, with the 3D Hub Lab as sort of a group that I'm in, and I co-founded a group that focuses in on the characters that sort of I create and how I do them, and we're going to get more and more, I think, into helping other people achieve sort of their potential with their IP, especially with the 3D assets that they have. And today I just want to sort of geek out on not necessarily 3D, but certainly IP and some of the big sort of overarching stories that are trying to converge, it looks like, with Bored Ape Yacht Club and 10K TF. And certainly there's some really great storylines developing with Jadu Avas, as well as the Amadegen Voids. And so I wanted to just jump in and welcome also to the show one of our correspondents on the show. Can you hear us? Hello. Hey, I'm back on the show. ¿Cómo estás? Welcome to this show that, it's very good for me to come and say hi to you guys. I come from a very far planet away, and I crash landed. You guys may have seen the footage that this guy made of me. It's very embarrassing. And I went to after I went to the Miami and had a lot of cocaine at the Miami. And it was a very interesting first experience, all of the intercourse. You told us about the parties, and when your first time on Earth was crazy. But let's not get sophomoric, because that we're going to leave that to the Bored Ape Yacht Club. There was a call from Garga that he was going to go a bit more strange, fun, and novel is kind of like the terminology that they wanted to put forth, because they wanted to go back to something that was a bit less ostentatious perhaps and more fun. And so they wanted to kick it off with we know this Christmas begins the trial of Jimmy the monkey. And so leading into that trial was this trailer that was released 2 days ago, that in that sort of 10K TF sort of way had a lot of little bits of you want them to be alpha, right? They're just like these little bits of like clues maybe, but at the end is the piece de resistance, that is the putting into context the image that you're probably seeing all over your feed. Let's see if it'll play. This is the sad thing about getting rugged on Twitter while live streaming on Twitter. This is a limitation that I have, clearly. I'm going to have to figure out how to restream these streams because while I'm on Twitter, clearly, tough. I love that pause for comedic effect. So they party with this secretive box. You gotta do some drinking games with the key, of course. So Jimmy is a monkey. Everyone's wondering what that code is, trust me. It's 6 digits, we know that. Oh, the graphicness of it all. So that was what we were all looking at, that last graphic there. I like don't even want to put it up. I do want to put it up, but I don't want to put it up, but I got to, because that's the key. That, we think, is the Archstone key. Now, on the other side, there is only one lock that unlocks, and that's the Archstone lock. And it's only on one land, and I think it was bought for like something like 120 ETH. Very, very, very high cost, because everyone believes that this opens the other side. And clearly, as the story develops, we can kind of tell this key potentially could be the thing that opens the other side. Now, a lot of this is in conjunction with the announcement that there's going to be a second trip. Those who watch the show know that we went together on the first trip and sort of examined the avatar usage from a very, it was just a kind of a clone experiment. And so, meaning, there wasn't individualized NFTs at that point, and there won't be, again, it's verified, there won't be apes anyway. Now, here's the thing. Here's like the sort of little open-ended alpha. We talk a lot about sort of, when the other side opened up. The alpha in plain sight, if you went to, and examined the other side from sort of the developer standpoint, was there was an SDK. So meaning that anybody with a 3D ready project could begin to evolve their project or define characteristics in which to join the other side. So 3D ready projects like Fiat Lux confirmed that they're going to be able to join. At what point? Maybe this is the point. They did kind of mention that the second trip was not going to have individualized apes, but there was room for but there will be surprises. And so that might be the thing, because there's essentially 100,000 lands now, going to be 200,000. There's got to be more than apes, right, in these lands. And so and that's kind of why sort of in the 3D community we're excited at the opportunity to be able to bring our avatars into other worlds, and whether that's metaverses that are private, like some of the ones that we cover on the show, or ones that are being in development like Webaverse. Being able to transfer those assets into any world that we want is kind of the hope for the future. Typically, that's done through orienting files based on whether it's Unity right now or Unreal Engine. Fortunately, Unreal Engine is kind of really not unfortunately, but it gets so powerful that it becomes the dominant force. There is sort of a weird misnomer right now where a lot of Unity projects are VRM based, and so if you have a VRM, you're able to play much like we are here. All of my assets I've transferred into VRM, and so I'm able to play with them. And like figure out sort of what's lands I want to put them in, what situations I want to put them in. Let me ask, do you know what file size you are? Of course I know what file I am. I am here. I have on me. It was right here. Hold on. It was here in. I come back to me. I think I may find it soon. So, by being able to play with these files, it gives me sort of the ability to kind of plug and play in a sense where I don't have to animate all of that. Like animating all of that would have taken, just to even get like sort of the weird awkwardness that I just did out, would have taken quite a bit of time just to animate and to do it well, and to do it sort of human-like and dorky like my body moves. And so... but being able to do and bring our avatars into, what ostensibly is going to be one of the biggest, metaverse experiences. And it's clear that, they want to go big with the metaverse and in ways that, here on the channel, we support and we kind of advocate for. And I'm sorry, these are just graphic, but it's, they're elements that are part of building culture, and we talk a lot about it on the show, like, how to develop that, and like, how I encourage, you guys to make shows on things that, you're passionate about, because that's exactly what, Bored Ape Yacht Club is signaling when they come out with, oh gosh, what is it called? Like, it's the effing metaverse or something like that. So it's a podcast, and they want, and it's probably, concurrently a Twitter Spaces, that they're trying to get out and communicate that, hey, we are leaning into metaverse now, and that's going to be a forward-moving element at top of mind. Now you have this integration with 10KTF, which is so curious and so fascinating. Here's a little bit about Garga. Put out, this is the corrected tiers. I think I had a different one down here, where if you have a bored ape or a mutant ape and a doggo, you'll be able to mint these tiers. What can you mint? You say? It's very, very curious. There's many theories about this. Is it going to be a straightforward land thing again? I think a lot of landholders now for the other side are fearful of that, of like, geez, now I'm going to have to get diluted by 100,000, like, so a dilution of 50%, from at first glance. Or is it something else? And there's a lot to be alluded to in this something else, in terms of, when you look at that video, and again, why I'm sorry, but like, just going through and finding the elements like on the box, on here. I mean, they're doing a shot and they're holding that shot. And this is something that 10KTF does pretty well as well, is like you're holding this shot, and it's a big shot. But if you look at composition, and join us for the art circle now, friends. If you look at the rule of thirds, what is the most powerful focus point? And it's the rule of thirds being, you slice it up 3 ways, this way, 3 ways, this way, and it's just about right over where that bottle is dropping into, and you see that etching on the box. And so on the box seems to have, I don't know if I can zoom in here very well. Sorry, I can't hear. But it seems to have some sort of mech thing going, like, some sort of robotic dog or robotic ape. It's not super clear, this is very on brand for the apes, but it's very mysterious. But it opens up the idea, because they had been saying, here's apes. They had been saying, every time I look at this, I'm like always looking for like new alpha, but this is just the 10KTF way, I suppose. But all of these, little clues that suggest here, and then the founders of Bored Ape were like, yeah, Yuga, we're like, we want to do something cool for those who did the Bored Ape Kennel Club, and do something cool for the doggos, and like, that was like the term, really, just do something cool. Is that this mint that allows you to get these higher tiers by including them, in sort of the collection, giving you significant buy-in, depending on, how these tiers shake down. So whether it's land, whether it's some sort of mech thing, is still up for debate, but it's coming. Like, I saw the internal roadmap somewhere. I don't even know if I'm able to show it, but it has a January mint date, and some like sort of Q3 activity. The real alpha here could be that I think I saw it was like Q3 was the other side opening, Q3, Q4. And so it's a long time from now. So they're still going to do like, the second trip, which is coming up in January, and then, reiterating from there, and then finally getting probably, they're doing another trip with the individualized apes. So taking it in steps is probably a brilliant idea, and something that, I love showing while I grow. I've been doing it for like a year and a half. I haven't grown as much because I don't have the billions of dollars. But please subscribe, hit the bell notification. Maybe one day together we share in the billions of dollars. And so the integration of Yuga Labs into 10K TF continues in this very curious way. Otherside Meta released yesterday a video that the other side is waking up, ostensibly in preparation for the trip part 2. $9353. I don't know what that means. I want to write it down. It's not the passcode. I know that. So we see our 2 hosts from the other side. And hey, this is the other side, right? Now, this map, the thing that they zoomed out of, has been so frustrating to me from, just even somebody approaching this, trying to understand it from all angles. You get this map that the other side is over. This is the map of the other side. Everyone believes that the value is in this island to the right there, the upper right. And so much of the speculation in terms of value is there. This data point actually puts it on the outside as if there's like an outside island. So most right now of the concentration is that in that center island. But I mean, to have this, and let's talk about sort of what we think this is. Okay, it's a giant. It's giving us a data point or a point of reference on a map. So we're here on the edge, and this is all looking desert. So we assume that entire region is going to be desert area. Now, trying to find and look for clues as to, okay, we have, gigantic, sort of animals, and the entrance of something bright. Having all these thoughts myself as I do this. Welcome to the Geek Out. So, hit me in the comments if you guys have anything, because it's like, this is the land. Can't quite zoom in too much. That you would buy, the other side land that you would buy, and I'm trying to look at some of the details and like resources or something like that, but that's not really seeing too much. So these are like the lands that you can buy. They've chosen this one in the desert. I guess this is desert. Maybe this is 9353. Maybe this is that land. And then on that, giving the scale, I think I'm impressed by. The scale is quite big and showing that little skeleton thing is quite a big land. So it's definitely giving me a sense of the scale and the value that ever since it sort of really tanked. We've been talking about like how to assess value within the other side. It's super challenging, and that's why it's super confusing, and that's why it sort of has not risen so much lately, because there isn't much certainty as to what we could potentially have on our hands, and that's always super frustrating in this community, right? The non-immediacy of things. But for the patients and those willing to look for clues, maybe there's something here, especially in this map. And me, like, it's even hard for me to identify where. Then you can make a claim around there, but is that the move, or are they just like showing off an area where the trip to number 2 is going to be? So, but it's so interesting that the other side meta, very, very different style, right, in terms of animation, much more sort of classic and I don't want to say gameplay driven, but I think they're trying to give a sense of what that gameplay scale is going to look like, and that's exciting. but certainly different than the animation we just saw, which was a bit more, I think, is when the founders put it as Ren and Stimpy. If you guys remember that old show, it was very, very graphic and very, 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 very raw. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and I think it's certainly a bit of a throwback, but certainly a lot of fun. And this tonality, though, Otherside, being much more mainstream, lent itself very well to another video that was released on the same day and shared by 10KTF. And so, let's see. Sorry. We look for them anyway in the deepest of winter. And so here, I hope my sound is coming across. I apologize if not. The sound has been like really, really an issue. So we have a clear connection. Otherside, 10KTF, Wagmi-San. This is the land that we were just on. The giant scale. They went into the mouth. But I don't know if they'd have to definitely have gone in already to do what it looks like Wagmi-San's about to do here. Last summer, so there's some theory that this is a bit of a time shift, which is interesting because it suggests that, according to the timeline that we talked about, the jump to the other side is not going to happen anytime soon. There's room for an entire act here of 10KTF, which on the last go round was about 8 months or so, from NFT NYC to end of year until we shrank the quota, 6 months or so. And so there seems to be room for one act at least, and that's kind of going back into what Wagmi-San did last summer. And that seems bloody. And so those are the two clues, right? So there's an association. We all know that 10KTF is now a part of Yuga, and that Wagmi-San, his storyline is converging with the other side and part of the release. Because we've been talking on this show for a long time. We need more than just apes to be in 200,000 parcels of land, and 10KTF certainly brings a boatload every week. I think every week, Figgy had mentioned there was about 25,000 active NFTs that hit their website that play 10KTF every week, and that is significant in terms of buy-in in this space. And so I don't know what Wagmi-San is doing. There's some sort of assumption that he's pulling and rigging. Put in the comments section down below what you think he's pulling and rigging, because I have no clue. I just see the setting, the resetting, and then we go to this sand dune, which has been, here's Wagmi-San. Look, everyone's looking a little younger, so that's why this sort of step slightly into the past. That summer, have we all aged that much over one summer? Probably in NFT land you have. And so having this integration, it's all super exciting. Last summer coming this winter, and having this sort of the Yuga. This is a really nice touch too. Having the Yuga insignia at the end of a 10KTF thing is very nice and symbolic, because it's I think that's the first time we've seen that as a full integration and acknowledgement that they're kind of now one. And what that means asset-wise, there's a lot of speculation, and I think a lot of people hope that means that there's a bit more access into ape events and this, but I can definitely tell in the servers that there's a bit of resistance to it because of just the price points and sort of how much apes believe that and they have, and it's quite expensive to get into, and so having that ability to welcome community, I think is going to be the biggest challenge for that culture. They need everybody. They need everybody if they want Otherside to work. And so, and I know, the IRL events maybe have the stranglehold on, just them or areas like that. But, in terms of overall macro culture, I just wanted to geek out a bit because I think it's really interesting, the developments. Obviously, my focus is more on breaking those out and finding opportunities, as holders of the IP, of individual IP that are associated with these projects, what we can be doing with them. And like and follow and subscribe, please, as I sort of look to grow this show and grow interest around this growing world of I don't want to use the buzzword of metaverse, but certainly what we can do with our 3D assets, within the metaverse. I was talking earlier on a show that that's what they do for brands, is they connect brands to those with assets in the space. Now, remember, if anybody approaches you about it, definitely do your due diligence. This is how 14 apes were stolen last week, and we reported on the social engineering that went on for about a month that led to that theft. Was somebody posing as exactly this, somebody who is, I'm an agent and I'm going to connect you to brands. Your apes are going to be completely branded. We're going to get you paid. That's that was the front for the scam, unfortunately. So you really have to be a bit cautious. I will say, and I mentioned this, is I looked at sort of the person that had done the scam, and I was just it's very hard for me to rationalize, and maybe we need some sort of a touchstone of safety, and verification within the space. Maybe something to do with the 3D Hub Lab as we develop ideas around that, for the community in a sort of permissionless way that allows us to connect with tools and develop tools. Super excited in 2023 as we sort of round out and start to see those developments of those tools realized, and those that can help the community with this verification and security and identity. There's a lot of things that are happening right now that really, just from a somewhat savvy media perspective, it could have been avoided. Just a couple of Google searches of who is this person and who did they work for. It didn't seem at all legit, and so maybe just some ways we can work together on doing this. Put in the comment section down below how you think we can work together. Love to do it. And I think that's all for Geeking Out this week. Happy holidays to those. I know everyone's peacing out until early January, but Merry Christmas. And I won't leave you with the picture of that bull. That would just be too cruel, too unusual, too kooky, too weird to leave anybody with the visual of Jimmy the Monkey and the Archstone key. It's unconscionable as that thing goes and goes. And I'm still looking for clues. They're thinking about it. What are they thinking about? They're going under. Is that the second trip? Going under? I don't know. That's the thing. Is that was my initial thing. I was second trip is going to have some sort of underwater vibe or in the sewers. That'll be cool. But then, the other side itself had different messaging. So as this new sort of company moves forward, as it, absorbs others, I think, it's definitely leaning more and more onto creative vision like Figgy's, and, has taken charge of overall sort of content and vision for all of Yuga. And so I think it'll start to get a bit more uniform as we go. But until then, let's enjoy the fun.